Well, good morning. I will officially call to order the regular meeting of Coachella Valley Water District Board of Directors, September 23rd, 2025, here in Coachella. And would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call, please. I see we're here.
Yes. Good morning, President Powell.
Morning.
Vice President Estrada?
Here.
Oh.
I say good morning.
Well,
Here.
Sorry.
Director Bianco.
Here.
Director Aguilar.
Here.
And Director Nelson.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Are there any additions, deletions, or adjustments to today's agenda?
No, sir, none that have been brought to my attention, and I don't see anybody trying to correct me, so I would say no.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I had a couple of notes. What did I write down here? Pull from consent. Uh-oh. This brings, yeah, they are, no, I'll get it. I had, it's right here. This brings us to public comment, and I know we have a public hearing, and I imagine most of the folks here are here for the public hearing, which will come up very early in the meeting today. But if you have other public comment, we actually have two public hearings, but imagine you're all here for the first one. Is there anyone wishing to make public comment at this time?
Mr. President, I do. I have several cards. I'm just going to confirm that these are most noted non-agendized, but Brad Anderson, I just want to confirm, where's Mr. Anderson?
Yes, it's non-agenda.
So it's not towards one of the public hearings? Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure on that. Okay, so we will bring up Mr. Brad Anderson first on non-agenda related items. You do have 3 minutes. And
I guess you want me here?
yes, please. And the light is on. There you go.
Thank you. My name's Brad Anderson. I currently live in the city of Ensenada. I just wanted to take this opportunity to just relate some information that you may not be aware of. The Palm Springs Cemetery District just recently went through the process of raising their per meeting stipends to using the California Water Code to do that, and they have exceeded your wages or your stipends that you have that your elected officials receive for participating in this process of your official representation of the valley. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention because I see you have a pre-Durham per meeting report later on in the meeting. So I hope that hopefully you will take that avenue to increase the wages just because you can. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have a target that you wanted us to consider? Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Next, I have Craig Smith, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Craig Smith. I'm with Fountainhead Development, and I'm here to request be scheduled for a presentation regarding a request for a temporary waiver for a Dutch Brothers Coffee at a project we're building, Monterey Crossing, at Monterey and the freeway, at the 10 freeway. We have been working very consistently with the staff regarding the consortium we've put together to expand the sewer system. And we have been in consistent contact, but we did not know that it was scheduled for a board meeting a couple weeks ago. And we still very much, in listening to the video from that board meeting, we realized there was quite a bit of information, questions were asked, and there was more information to be presented, and we appreciate the opportunity to do that. Just a little update on the consortium. We have agreement. We've completed the survey. John Rodriguez is our civil engineer. He's here to help explain the technical parts. But we are well into the construction drawings. Our consortium together is supposed to build about a mile of the expanded sewer, although we're designing for 2 miles. And the plan should be, the construction drawings should be, there'll be a meeting set, and the construction drawings will be submitted to CVWD in a couple weeks. Okay. With that said, all the other projects in the consortium are all residential projects, so they build their product and then the market absorbs it. In our circumstance, it's commercial. We have outside delivery dates, and our one tenant who cannot wait, we figured from today, it's probably going to take 18 months to complete the expansion. And our one tenant, Dutch Brothers, can't wait that long, and they have the right to cancel their lease. Because in commercial and shopping center leases, when you're developing, there's always an outside delivery date. And we are okay with our other commercial tenants, but Dutch Brothers has let us know that they have an expansion time they need to make, which is why we're here asking for the waiver for the Dutch Brothers. It's a drive-through only. It's the one tenant that we need to move forward now. With that, we do have a couple other people that would like to say a few words.
Thank you. Then you could have Jeff
Next,
explain.
and I apologize if I mispronounce this, Vasanti Okuma, please? No? Thank you.
good.
I was practicing for a few seconds here.
Good morning. My name is Vasanti Okuma, and I work with Craig at Fountainhead Development. I am the development director at Fountainhead Development. So I actually deal with all of the approvals, getting permits, and stuff like that. And I've worked with CVWD now on this particular project probably for the better part of 5 years. We built all the phase 1, and I worked with development staff for probably, 2 years getting permits and all that. So, no, I'm very familiar with how the CVWD process works. And we've also done other projects in CVWD's jurisdiction. I also watched the video with Craig Smith on the last board meeting. Wish we could have been here. There were a lot of questions that were asked that we would have been able to answer. And we're just asking for the opportunity to say our piece and make our case for why the Dutch Brothers should be allowed. And we'd been working in good faith with CVWD staff. We were going back and forth with questions, so we were caught a little bit off guard that the item was scheduled, and we didn't know about it. So we're just here to ask for another opportunity to come before you, get placed on the agenda, answer all the questions that you have, and and hopefully we can come to a compromise solution for this project and help development in the valley. Thank you. That's all I had to say. Appreciate it.
Next, I have John Rodriguez.
Thank you very much, President Powell and directors. I'm John Rodriguez. I represent High Tech Consulting and Civil Engineering Group that is working with the consortium and Fountainhead in the development of the improvement plans for the Varner Road upgrades. We've been working closely with Kerry and with Armando on getting that done. I will say that some of the questions that were brought up in the previous August 12th meeting, we are under contract for design. Design is well underway with the consortium. The consortium has also signed an agreement with each other to operate together on this project. So I think it's important to know those details. Obviously, just echoing what Craig and Vasanti said, we just like the opportunity to present to you all the facts of what we have with the projects, with the consortium, with our offsite development, and then also with the Dutch Brothers Coffee. Thank you.
we have Joaquin Tejerina.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Joaquin Tijerina with the Office of Economic Development of Riverside County here in support of the request to be put on for your agenda to review their temporary waiver for the Dutch Brothers Coffee in Palm Desert. The county and the city are partners in that site and would like to see it developed. And this would allow jobs and investment in that area to come in and not have to wait the 18 months. I know that they would love the opportunity to come and answer all your questions, and provide clarification on anything that you might need to make that decision to allow them to have that temporary waiver. Thank you.
And that is all I have, speaker cards. I don't know if there are additional speakers.
Are there any other non-agenda items, speakers? Hearing none? And we have an opportunity to consider this. Maybe Jeff, you can explain, but there's already an item on our agenda to consider.
No, there's not.
So,
Well,
we have an item for future agenda items.
right.
So
Is
you
that what
could,
that is?
you could take that at the end, you could take that now, if you wish. I just want to clarify that the board did take action on this matter. And so, in order to bring back an item that has already had action taken on it, there would need to be a motion to put the item back on to consider whether to reconsider the matter. So and it would have to be proposed and moved and seconded by those directors who voted in the majority. So the majority was not to grant the waiver. So two of those three would need to make a request to add this back onto the agenda, but would be back on the agenda to consider whether to take up the action, not just put it back on and let's vote on it again. So the next meeting would be, we would have the matter on there if it's the wishes of the majority of the board, to put it back on there to say, this is what the action was, do you want to reconsider it? And then the next meeting to reconsider. We just can't put it back on and have action taken on that matter.
What was the vote last time?
It's 3-2. The motion,
So one of the three would have to make a motion, and one of the other three would have to second it.
Right,
Correct.
and I think,
It wasn't 3-2 because I wasn't here.
well, according to the minutes, you were, sir. This was the meeting of August 12th.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
you were here.
Okay.
Yeah.
so we only need two directors to say, yes, put something back on. So we don't need a vote to put it back on today, but as a future agenda item, to put it back on to consider whether to take it up again.
But it has to be two of the three.
Two of the three.
Okay.
Two of the three that voted the majority.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And the three are,
Powell, Nelson, and Aguilar. There was a motion by Estrada and Bianco to grant the waiver. The motion failed because three members voted no. So one of those three members, as the majority, has to then ask that it be recalendared for a vote to reconsider. So that, if you want to reconsider it, it's got to come back to the full board for a vote. And then at the following meeting, staff may or may not be able to get it calendared. I don't know what kind of work we've got to do to get it scheduled. But we at least need a sense of whether the board wants to rehear it. Then there's got to be a vote to rehear it, and then it can be reheard.
Only
I know it's
because-
complicated, but
Because if we didn't do that, then every action taken by the board could just be brought up at the next meeting. So
Sure.
that's why there's that process.
okay, so is there a motion to, I don't even know how to word
Add
this.
the item
Add
for
the item
reconsideration.
Reconsideration at a future board meeting.
Yeah, before you take, well, I'll just say a comment before you ask, somebody answers, but yeah, like for me, I was really surprised not to see you here that day. You know, I know you put a lot of effort into making the request to be added to the agenda. You came in with several speakers, and the day of your item, you weren't here. And I really don't understand why. Sure. Yeah,
Can you
If you're
please
gonna-
come to the podium so I can capture it for the record?
So at the time the board had the meeting, we were still under serious discussions with staff. Staff had come back to us with several questions, and we were in the process of answering those questions. And then the next thing we knew, the item had been heard. We were not notified, and which is, very unusual, especially, and I do entitlements all the time all over Southern California. When we're working in earnest with staff, we're always notified when our item is on the agenda. And that, and we were working in good faith. We did not know it was calendared. And I reached out to Carrie. In fact, she sent me an email saying that, the item was heard and it was denied. And I'm like, what happened here? And she said it was just inadvertent. It was, and I know stuff happens, but it was an inadvertent omission, and we were not notified. So
Yeah, I would just, this is the sort of explanation that you can get into if you add the item back on the next meeting. I would just caution against the back and forth
I
with
get
the public.
that. I get that. And I mean, for the record, the item was on a published agenda that was available to you, and somebody with your experience would have been watching that. Normally, I mean, I've been on your side also, and, trust but verify maybe.
And at the
Well,
previous
I
meeting,
don't-
we had told you that Carrie was out of the office, and when she returned, the item would be put on the agenda.
yeah, but it could be any. Like I
Yeah,
said,
I-
we were still having
Yeah, no, I get
discussions
it.
with
I get
staff.
it.
We have a
So
lot
we'll
of public
have
comments.
So-
We'll
like-
have an opportunity
President
to
Powell, can I have
hash
you
this
turn your
out.
mic on? I apologize. Your mic is
How
not
did
on.
it go off?
I turned it off.
And it's for any item to be added to the agenda, it takes two board members, not a vote. So if two board members, in this case, in the majority, wish to have this item back on, we can get into this back and
Oh,
forth.
so there's no vote? We just-
No, it's just like any other item on the
Motion
agenda.
and second,
Correct.
and this isn't necessarily to approve the waiver, it's just to
To have another meeting.
have
just
the
to
have an
that
opportunity
discussion.
to discuss approval of the waiver.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I'm always up for a discussion. I mean, I'm not sympathetic, but I'm always up for discussion to hear what.
And that's all we ask
What
for.
the issues are, because I'm,
Yeah.
I'm issue related.
No, I get it, yeah, and it's not that we're opposed to Dutch Brothers, it's that it's leapfrogging the infrastructure,
And it's my understanding, John, that, there's some serious, even currently, overuse in the sewer right now, and we're over capacity, and my concern would be to adding on to that, and especially with monsoonal issues and so forth. So I'm willing
That's
to
fine.
have the discussion. but-
Director Nelson, can I have you turn on your mic, please?
What is with the
And
mics this
can
morning?
you repeat all that?
I'm willing to have the discussion.
I thought,
I need to make a motion.
I thought red was off.
It's confusing because in
I
Palm
know.
Desert, red is off.
So I would just add, I would just say, John, that I would typically not be in support of reconsideration. However, I've heard today that there is new information that is going to be presented, and I'd be very interested in hearing that. It may not make a difference in how I vote, but I would be supportive of putting this back on.
All right, so do we have a motion and a second?
Yeah, and so we would
I
just
believe
need
we
two
do, right?
board members, because it's just to add an item to the agenda, to take a vote at the next meeting. Do we reconsider this item? Or we can get into why it was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
So I'm willing, John, you willing?
yes.
Okay,
There you
so
have
the
So we
item
have
is
a
back
motion-
on.
Motion by Nelson, a second by
clarification,
Aguilar.
who's the motion maker?
Peter.
So he's telling us we don't need a motion, and you're saying we need a motion.
We don't need a vote.
I need a motion and a second, but no vote.
Oh, I
That's
see.
the policy.
We don't need a vote.
I'll make that.
And I'll do the second or whatever it's
Thank
called.
you.
Okay,
Okay,
thank
that's all
you.
we need.
But, just so we're clear, the next time will be to whether or not to reconsider it, not to take a vote on yes or no on the waiver.
Does that
Right.
make sense?
Okay.
That'll be the following.
So there'll be at least two more meetings
Yes.
that you
Yeah.
probably want to show up to.
We're in it.
All right.
At the reconsideration, Jeff, anybody can make a motion? Or is that
It's-
still the
it's-
three?
No, it's just back on.
It's back on.
So,
Okay.
now-
well, wait a minute. To put an item back on to reconsider, you would need the people who were in a majority. I'll clarify that, but we're just putting it on the agenda today. Now, you've taken action. Who was a majority? The majority were those three. They can decide, yeah, let's put that waiver back on for the next meeting. So it would still have to be one of the majority, it would have to be a majority vote of those who voted the same way to say no, to say, yes, let's reconsider at the
Okay.
next meeting.
All right, so double check that.
Double check. Tell us the rules.
That's like, it seems like a second layer.
Well, we're not what's confusing is we're just adding it today. We're not
Right.
taking any action today. We're just deciding whether or not to put it on the agenda and with
At
any.
the next meeting.
At the next
Yeah,
meeting.
but at the next meeting, what would be the next step after the next meeting to
Do
actually?
we want to put the actual waiver
Yeah, and that's
application
what
on
we're,
for the
that's what
previous
we're asking.
meeting?
Who,
Yeah.
is that open to
Then it
anybody
would
to
be
make
a
motion?
vote of the five, right?
Well,
At the second.
I will verify, but you've
Check that.
taken action to say no. So in order to change the board to take a different vote, you'd have to have those in the majority say, yeah, let's reconsider at the next meeting. We'll lay it all out for you.
Thank
But
you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
the problem is the
So you need-
board took action on something, so
I know,
we just can't reverse it the next meeting.
right, got it. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
your time.
appreciate it.
All right, this brings us to our consent calendar, and I'd like to pull for a very brief discussion, item H, 5H. And I would move the balance, unless there's any others. I'd move the balance of the
I'll
consent
second.
calendar. We have a second by Nelson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that passed 5-0. So just on H, I was reading through the, forgive me if I can't see my thing, but, so there's an existing tank, and it says that the storage deficiency is 0.6 million, but then we're gonna add another tank, and that tank is 0.5 million, so how does that, I get it, it takes care of 80% of it, but what about the other 20%? Do we still have a storage deficiency after we build the second tank? Does that make sense?
Yes and no. We have the ability to move water between the intermittent zones. We're limited to 500,000 because of the size of the site. We simply can't go bigger. So that's the best that we can do. So when the new tank gets built, the existing tank next to it, we'll have to take that offline and reconstruct that one as well. So eventually, we'll address the deficiencies, but we need time and money.
Okay, so there's no plan for a third tank or anything like that
No,
up
there's
there?
no room for that.
But you'll be able to manage this much smaller deficiency, so we'll be good? Once you have the second tank built?
Yes, I mean, we don't really have a choice, so we're
don't have a
working
choice.
with what we got, yeah.
Okay. All right, I got you. Thank you. I know we've seen this before, but the number jumped out at me. I'm like, are we missing something? All right, I'll move approval of 5H.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed 5-0, thank you. All right, so 7A, we have a script, gotta do this too, huh? Okay. This brings us to our public hearing. So at this time, staff will provide a presentation on the proposed resolution to initiate proceedings for divestiture of CVWD's water service and wastewater service powers within a portion of the district's boundaries known as Improvement District 8 or ID 8. The concurrent annexation of that portion of CVW's boundaries into Mission Springs Water District for the purpose of providing water service and wastewater service and a related modification of Mission Spring Water District's sphere of influence. Following the presentation, we will open the public hearing. And who is making the presentation?
Yes, sir, I got it.
Jim Barrett.
Yes, sir. So I could move down to the speaker
You're good.
spot, but
No, you're fine.
thanks, sir. I've got some preliminary comments, probably take less than about 5 minutes, and then I'll be available for any questions you might have. So good morning, board members, CVWD staff, members of the public here and viewing on Zoom, and there go the Fountainhead people. I want to start by saying this is not something CVWD is trying to do unilaterally. It's the first step in allowing a broader discussion and potentially ultimate action on an initiative by both Desert Hot Springs and Mission Springs Water District that they have previously asked CVWD to take. If the action proposed today is approved by the CVWD board, it's not binding, it's an application for consideration. If the proposed action today is approved by the CVWD board, it will then proceed to be discussed with and by Mission Springs Water District, Desert Hot Springs, LAFCO, and the County of Riverside. All those forums allow for public comment and interaction. Yes, the previous requests from both Desert Hot Springs and Mission Springs Water District focused on a smaller transaction. And yes, this initiative could be seen as two separate actions that have been linked together when each could proceed on their own. And just to describe those two actions, one being the ID8 distribution system, which is shown on the map in light blue. It is not connected to CVWD's main distribution system. It is basically isolated, a system unto itself. But that ID8 system would be the same system that provides service down to the other part of this, which is the undeveloped land that Desert Hot Springs wants to develop by the I-10 corridor. So one part is the existing ID8 system, the other part is the undeveloped land down by the I-10 corridor. This initiative is only beneficial to CVWD if both the ID8 and I-10 corridor divestitures are linked through this reorganization. Development west of Palm Drive, and Palm Drive it's hard to see on the map, but if on the west side, you'll see the red line come down and then kind of go back up. That's Palm Drive there. So anything by the I-10 corridor along Palm Drive on either side, east or west, until you get to that first blue line that notches from west to east, that would all be served by the ID8 system, which also happens to feed, currently, Sky Valley and Indio Hills. The potential for increased growth, which would help reduce, that potential for increased growth would help reduce current operating costs on the ID8 system, which again is not connected to the rest of CVWD systems. It would also provide increased economic revenue to both DHS and with annexation to the Mission Springs Water District. The precipitating event that now brings this issue forward for consideration is the recent completion by Mission Springs Water District of the Nancy Wright Water Reclamation Facility. Sewer services are now more readily available for new development in both Mission Springs Water District and CVWD areas than they would have been before. For one development that was identified back in 2018, the cost difference for service from CVWD was almost 4 times higher than it would have been for Mission Springs Water District. Yes, the ID8 system has been identified as requiring Chrome 6 remediation. If the system remains with CVWD, the cost has been estimated at about $25 million. Without a connection to the rest of CVWD's distribution system, with wells operating in a different hydrological subbasin than the rest of CVWD's infrastructure, an argument could be made for a different rate structure than the one that exists today. Without the opportunity to reduce those costs through new development, the burden of on the ID8 system would be much larger. Annexation by Mission Springs Water District provides an interconnection and blending opportunity that could reduce those costs. But we haven't looked at that. All the opposition is based on rate differentials between CVWD and Mission Springs Water District. I can say with a great deal of certainty that CVWD rates will go up. And because of how the courts are now looking at tiered rates, staff is likely to propose an entirely different rate structure in the future. That concludes my comments.
Thank you.
Available for any questions.
And I would just add that my partner, Paula D'Souza, who is our LAFCO law expert and is working on this matter, is available via Zoom and is ready to answer any questions that may arise.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, great. This is the time and place for a public hearing to receive written and/or oral comments or testimony made by any affected local agency, affected county, or any interested person regarding the proposed resolution of application to initiate proceedings with Riverside County LAFCO for the proposed divestiture of CVWD's water service and wastewater services service powers in ID8, the concurrent annexation of that portion of CVWD's boundaries into the Mission Springs Water District and related sphere of influence amendments. Okay. So, Clerk Bermudez, have we completed proper notification of this hearing?
provided in the Desert Sun, a newspaper of general circulation.
Thank you. So I hereby declare this public hearing open. I know we have cards. Does anyone in attendance at this public hearing wish to be heard? And if so, please give your name and address and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. And so why don't you go ahead and work off the top
I
of
will
the
start.
deck there.
Doria Wilms.
Good morning, President Powell, directors, and staff. My name is Doria Wilms, and I am the city manager for the City of Desert Hot Springs. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today. I'm going to begin with a bold statement. The future of Desert Hot Springs economic development hinges on decisions that are being made in these meetings right now. More than 70% of our residents leave the city every day for work and shopping because a plethora of those opportunities simply do not exist there yet. This is not for lack of interest from developers. Over the years, many large and small promising housing, commercial, and regional recreation projects have walked because they couldn't make the numbers work. The single biggest obstacle, the lack of sewer infrastructure from the Coachella Valley Water District along our main growth corridor from Dillon Road up Palm Drive to the I-10 freeway. Today alone, 7 major projects remain stalled, waiting on the outcome of these very discussions. Coachella Valley Water District's closest sewer connection within its service area that touches Desert Hot Springs is all the way at Bob Hope Drive, miles from where growth needs to happen in the city of Desert Hot Springs. That is why back in 2021, when Mission Springs Water District began planning its new wastewater treatment plant, our mayor and city staff met with MSWD and CVWD. We pushed then for a shared service agreement similar to the CVWD-DWA arrangement that would allow MSWD to provide sewer and CVWD to provide water for projects in the pipeline. This could have been accomplished quickly, literally with the stroke of a pen, and would have opened the door for development. Instead, after years of discussion, the focus has shifted to a full divestiture of water and wastewater services from CVWD to MSWD, extending all the way to Indio Hills. While the city generally supports this long-term solution, it will undoubtedly take years to complete. If this is the only viable path, we urge that the divestiture, at a minimum, cover the entire Desert Hot Springs sphere of influence. But we must also be on record again that our city's strong preference is for, and has always been, shared services agreement to move forward now for the projects that are already in the pipeline. Consider what is at stake. 2,200 housing units that cannot break ground today because of absence of sewer service. A 1 million square foot logistics facility that would bring more than 1,000 jobs to the region. New retail development that would finally give residents a place to buy everyday items, something as simple as a pair of jeans, within their own community. Our position has never wavered. From our first meetings in 2021, where we were assured that this was possible, to today, the City of Desert Hot Springs has consistently advocated for a shared service agreement. It is the first priority in the City Council's 2025 strategic plan, because we know it will unlock economic development for our residents and what they so urgently need.
And I'm sorry, Mr. President, that is the 3 minutes in order to be fair to all commenters.
Appreciate that, Jeff.
Thank you.
I can't see the clock because it's
Well, I
right
couldn't see
behind-
it either. I would have
right
gone a
behind
little
you.
faster. I was on my last paragraph. Essentially, we're asking for, yes, we are supportive of the action being taken, but we strongly still are very much advocating for shared services agreements for these projects that need to develop now.
Thank you.
Next, I have Buddy Knowles. Thank you.
It's like being in court or something.
Good morning. Oh, hope
I
we're
wouldn't know.
Hope we're a little friendly.
Anyway, my name's Buddy Knowles, and I live in Sky Valley, and I retired from Veolia Water, so I know the business. And why I'm here today is to talk about, there's a lift station that Mission Springs has on Avenida Descanso and Dillon. And on September 21st, the lift station failed. So they lost 11,000 gallons out in the desert. Well, what I'm concerned about is that lift station has the ability to call the person on call when it shuts down. That person should respond and take care of things before you have that sewage coming out and going into the desert. Well, 2 years before that, it happened again. I was coming home on down Dillon Road, and there was a river running across out into the desert on the same place. The manhole, before it turns on Dillon and goes up to the lift station, had blown off. There was 5 inches of sewer coming out of that manhole, so you know how many gallons per minute that's going out in the desert. And I was there 3.5 hours. I called 911 4 times because the manholes were open, people were driving through it. You know, I didn't want them to fall in the manhole. So I called Mission Springs, no response. I called 911 4 times. I called the health department. They came out and they said that they were trying to decide whose jurisdiction it was. Well, it was Mission Springs. Somebody didn't respond. So what I'm afraid of is they're incompetent of taking care of their equipment. So they don't have the manpower, they don't have the equipment to take care of District 8. So I'm afraid, I don't think they can give us safe drinking water if they can't maintain their lift stations and things. How can they monitor the water system to make sure we're getting clean water? So that's
you.
all I have to say.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Looks like Sam Toasty. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Board. My name is Sam Toasty. I'm an architect. I live in Sky Valley. It's really hard for me to even know where to begin. Our community has just basically found out about this proposal, and the presentation this morning was the first time we heard a few details on that. Obviously, we have great concern about the water district moving. I know my house was first constructed in the early 50s, had a well, and then shortly thereafter, I'm going to say mid-50s, early 60s, the district came in and offered service. And the people who owned the home at that time have had CVWD service since then. A few things about Sky Valley and our area. We are residential. 5 acres is the smallest parcel that's allowed in Sky Valley currently. Many of my neighbors have horses. Many of my neighbors have ag. My wife has multiple fruit trees, citrus on our property. We are a residential agricultural district or neighborhood. We have great concern about being looped into DHS and the development that's being proposed there. I see how the supply system is laid out, but I want to stress, in my neighborhood, in all of Sky Valley, no one has a septic system. I'm sorry, everyone has a septic system. We are not on a sewer system. So that's one aspect of this I think that's important to take into account. I feel like we're being swept up into this commercial development before we're even understanding what's hitting us or, you know, how we can react. What really is the best plan here? Is it this shared services agreement that was discussed, or is it what's being proposed this morning that's going to serve the residents out on the far eastern side the best? It appears in hearing the discussion this morning that the $25 million cost for the chromium issue is really what's being looked at underneath. And we're saying, well, that's a huge cost in the future. This might be one way to help spread that cost. I know that when chromium repair was first discussed, the amounts that were proposed were huge. Since that time, I know that there's been a less expensive solution. I would ask the board to be sure about the costs that are being proposed, the $25 million, and to be sure that that's the most current cost that's being proposed, because I know we've heard 2 different things and it's changed over time. Once again, in my last 10 seconds, I'm going to say that We would love, as a community, to find out more about this, to find out how we fit into this. We have just basically heard this morning, so we'd love more time.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have Lisa Toasty.
Good morning, Board. Lisa
Morning.
Toasty. I live in Sky Valley. We are a rural area. We are a low-income area. I know there's been a huge commitment from this board to develop and provide services in the South Valley, and you have done incredible expansion. And in fact, there are some housing areas that you have closed because of contamination issues. And when those low-income areas were closed there, those people moved up to Sky Valley. We are the low-cost housing area. We are the last bastion of rural on this side of the valley. I hope that you have a commitment to us as well, to helping us maintain a rural residential area. We have very low demands on your system. We have no wastewater, we have no stormwater, we have no recycled water needs. All we need is fresh water. That is all that we look for from the district. I appreciate that the Coachella Valley Water District is the lowest cost provider in Southern California, and that is really beneficial to helping maintain our area, our neighborhood that is a low-cost, working-class neighborhood. I hope that we can stay in the Coachella Valley Water District. I'm personally very proud of the gray water system and the way our water is managed here in the valley. Most people in Southern California have no idea how foresightful and how well managed our water is, how excellent our deep water is. We would love to stay as part of the water district, and I hope that our little old us aren't forgotten in looking at all of these gigantic issues and the infrastructure concerns. But I do want to point out our infrastructure needs are very, very, very modest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Regina Van Way.
Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
My name is Regina Van Wy, and I'm here to voice my opposition to the proposal of the transfer of my water service from CBWD to Mission Springs. And I've lived in this valley and in Sky Valley for 41 years, and I've never had any problems with CBWD at all. I think I only had my water turned off once, and that was for them working at the end of my block. I've had quality water since then. I am on a septic tank also. And here are the facts why I do not want my service to be transferred over to Mission Springs. And one, Mission Springs was charged with improper meter readings, billing, and failed meter readings in 2021 to 2022, from March 2019 to May 2022. And also, in 2022, Mission Springs was charged with wastewater discharge violations from the State Health Control Board. That concerns me a lot. And the resolution was a partial settlement given back to DHS as a supplemental environmental project. In 2010, the voters of Mission Springs voted against raising the water rates, in which Mission Springs stated that this was unconstitutional, and sued and took this lawsuit all the way to the state Supreme Court and lost. And in 2024, discrimination and harassment lawsuit was settled against a employee for $90,000, and they had to retrain all of their staff members after that settlement. Now, I understand there's a few disagreements and lawsuits against CBWD. However, I've heard anything said against CBWD like what I've just stated just a few minutes ago. So I'm retired, and I need to be able to balance my budget just as you do. And I really appreciate if you would keep being my water service, because I don't want to have to rely on somebody who maybe not show up. They're mismanaged, improper, and dishonest work ethics, and full of improprieties. So please keep being my water district or water service, because you make better water than they do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Clara Chavez.
Good morning.
Morning.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this morning and express my strong opposition to turning over our water services to Mission Springs. Now, I'm just a regular person, but everyone I've talked to from my community in Sky Valley have expressed the three things in the same way that I do. Number one, I'm happy with CVWD. For over 40 years, they've supplied my family with good water service. We've been able to rely on them to provide us with good tasting water, and have learned about their water treatment process through community education outreach programs that they've conducted throughout the years. That's really nice. Number two, I feel that your billing process is fair. I know we live in the desert, and there are exceptional costs in getting water to our homes for our gardens and our fruit trees and our ornamental trees, but I've always found that in the bill each month, your costs are reasonable. And today, as I rely on a fixed income, it's crucial to know that I'll be able to afford the cost of water. And the history with CVWD gives me the confidence that I can handle it. Number three, I like doing business with a company that has a good reputation and has leadership that understands and complies with rules and seeks to settle differences through compromise and negotiations. And I trust you to uphold any ruling that a court might render, whether it's in your favor or not, and I appreciate your sense of right. So for these reasons, I urge you not to let me and your thousands of other loyal customers down by handing us over to a less reputable and a more expensive company. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Richard Martin.
Good morning. My name is Richard Martin. I have 2 5-acre parcels in Sky Valley, and I just want to agree with everything else she just said. It's a rural area. The residents there don't want we don't want big developments there. I'm very happy with Coachella Valley Water District. I've been for several years. And, I understand that Mission Springs has had problems, and I just don't want to change. The rates are reasonable. They've always given me good service. I have a lot of trees and a lot of, gardening there that I can't afford to water if I have to pay Mission Springs prices. So another thing is most of the residents there weren't aware of this change. We didn't get notice. We may have had legal notice in the newspaper, but most of them don't read the Desert Sun. So we're spreading the word now, the ones of us that know, and we would just like to have more time to research this. And that's about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Mark Astorga. Is that correct?
Good morning. My name is Mark Astorga. I live in Sky Valley, and I'm also serve on the Sky Valley Council. I'm here today to strongly oppose turning over water and wastewater service in Improvement District 8 to Mission Springs Water District. First, costs. Mission Springs Water District has a history of billing problems, which we've already discussed. They were sued and had to pay $225,000, which we discussed already, over the faulty meters. Second, unfinished work that CVWD still owes our community and upgrades and improvements that have not been completed. Handing us off the Mission Springs Water District is not a solution, it's just walking away. Third, water quality. CVWD provides regular testing and public results that meet high standards. Mission Springs Water District's record in Desert Hot Springs shows chemicals at levels above health guidelines. That is not acceptable for families who rely on safe water. And finally, our economy. Local farmers and growers depend on affordable, reliable water. Rising costs and less accountability will put food production and jobs at risk here in the valley. From my perspective on the council, I often hear from residents how much they value CVWD's programs, rebates, conservation classes, and education that help people save water and money. These programs strengthen our community. Mission Springs Water District does not provide the same resources. For all those reasons, I urge you to reject this transfer and instead honor the commitments CVWD has already made to the people of ID8. Thank you.
Thank you.
Julie Casserly? Excellent, okay.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Julie Casserly. I live at 19210 Ford Avenue in Sky Valley. I am current chair of our community council and have been active with the council since its inception 30 years ago. I'm here today to voice my strong opposition to the divestiture of Improvement District 8 from CVWD to Mission Springs Water District. I will skip over all the points already made.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It is my understanding that changes in the provision of a public service like water may be considered when the proposal will result in a higher level of service at the same cost or an equivalent service at a lower cost. This falls into neither category as far as I can see. I would like to ask one of you to tell us what's the justification for allowing CVWD to divest itself of its responsibility to supply Sky Valley and the other communities with our most critical need, which is potable water. I'm surprised we're just hearing about this now, and no one from CVWD has come before our council or Desert Edge or Indio Hills to present our communities how this request will affect us, hear our concerns, and answer the questions residents will undoubtedly have prior to voting to adopt this resolution. We have a community council for this exact purpose, and our county liaison should have been notified so we could have been notified. A public hearing is only good if the public is involved. Yes, a notice was published in the Desert Sun, but of course not everyone gets the paper. And even if you do get the paper and you read the notice, you would have no idea what Improvement District 8 consists of. Nowhere were the communities named. We found out about this only 2 weeks ago due to one of our residents. Thank you, Ms. Tabitha Davies. Sky Valley is not an affluent community, nor is Desert Edge or Indio Hills. Sky Valley consists of large parcels with a minimum lot size of 5 acres, many larger and a few smaller. We have several nurseries, large ranches, and equestrian properties. An increase in the cost of water that would be consistent with MSWD current rates would be a huge burden to all of the communities involved. Today is the first time that I heard that this involves development by the I-10 corridor. I think if you want to adopt this proposal, do not include Sky Valley and Indio Hills. We're rural, big properties. We're nothing like City of Desert Hot Springs, which I understand if they may want to do it, but you know, CVWD has provided my water for over 40 years. So to say that it is, you know, I think you said it was unattached from the rest. Well, you guys have been responsible for us up to now, and I would really, really ask that you consider continuing to provide our service in the near future. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we have Brad Anderson.
Good morning again, Brad Anderson, city. I currently reside in the city of Rancho Mirage. I just wanted to come out this morning to speak on this topic. I just found out about it this morning also through the news media, and I didn't have internet access this morning, so I was hoping to look at the staff report or the resolution itself today at this proceedings, but I was told that that's not available. That's an issue. That's an issue when I can't access that information, and I would assume other people that are directly involved wouldn't be able to access, and that's potentially an illegal action by not having that information available at this proceeding. Not that I'm bringing up legal ramifications for what you're doing today, but I am concerned from the staff report given by the general manager. It sounds like it's a done deal. Sounds like the Coachella Valley Water District has already decided that they do not want that influence in that area. And I want to remind the current board that you are elected officials and you will represent these people or the residents of that communities, of those communities. And I know you don't take that lightly, and I don't either. And hopefully you will consider their request. This is only one step. I understand. I'm involved in a lot of political aspects around the valley, and I encourage LAFCO to look at this. I encourage the public debate to go forward, and people to actually vote on this procedure, to have representation or represents through the city of Desert Hot Springs, I guess, if that goes that way. But I'm concerned because of the Coachella Valley Water District's willingness to give up a sphere of influence like this. I think this is unheard of. I've never really heard of that. And I understand there's a lot of development, a lot of planned development up in the Sky Valley, Indio Hills area. And I don't know if that has any influence on this. But anyway, I hopefully brought up some points that will help later. And I think I hit it all, so I won't bother you much longer. And again, it's really important to have these staff reports, like the Cove communities. You're talking about that. I mean, Cove communities. I know Cove communities in Rancho Mirage, but I don't know any more aspects of that, and I would like to know that why I'm here. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Remind me, did you say you live are you a resident in Rancho Mirage?
I currently reside in Rancho Mirage, but I have interest in Indio Hills. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have Tabitha Davies.
Good morning. First, I want to let you guys know that your online streaming of this meeting is not ADA compliant, as the closed captions don't function, so me as a disabled person could not equitably engage while I was on my way here. Additionally, I would like to obviously oppose this. I think that the fact that you're having this meeting on a Tuesday at 8 o'clock in the morning in the city of Coachella shows just how little you care about the communities that this impacts. The majority of people that live in the Sky Valley, Indio Hills, Desert Edge, and unincorporated DHS area, if you look at the demographics, lower income and Spanish speaking. I don't see that being a priority when you're having this meeting here at this time. I'm going to echo all of the other comments that were made and also add in that there is no planned development in Sky Valley. There is in the city of Desert Hot Springs, but Sky Valley is unincorporated Riverside County, and we have not only parcel restrictions, but development restrictions. We are also located in the Coachella Valley Multi-Species Habitat Conservation Plan, so I don't understand how some of what you're suggesting might be benefit to our community who doesn't even want access to sewer, because we have septics, would pass a CEQA. I think that choosing to do this meeting instead of doing it on evenings or weekends, or communicating with those community councils that are available for Indio Hills, Desert Edge, and Sky Valley, is the behavior of a petty functionary rather than a public agency entrusted with something as vital as water. Meanwhile, you have not delivered the infrastructure upgrades that we have paid for, that has been funded, and that is in the plans. And if your idea is to dump us on Mission Springs Water District, then you, I don't know, cut us a check as a whole for our area to do the development needs for about $1.8 billion to cover the repairs and upgrades. Mission Springs Water District is not a solution. As someone who's had them previously and watched what has happened since I've left them, we chose CVWD and a property that has CVWD for a reason. This would not be a service benefit to anybody in our rural community. I run a nonprofit farm sanctuary that feeds our community, that teaches people water-wise food forest development on their property. And deciding to switch over to Mission Springs would effectively completely shut us down. There are nurseries and agricultural facilities in our area that can't even attend this meeting because of the lack of notice. While you might be legally compliant, it's morally reprehensible. I think that you need to take responsibility for fixing the systems that you were already entrusted with, not walking away and abandoning us. I think that you really need to reflect, and I hope that LAFCO will not give us a real forum for this, because I don't think that this deserves one yet. You should be meeting with the community. That's what I have to say. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That's it that I have.
All right. Anybody else?
I just want to say you're doing a great job out in Sky Valley.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. I know the answer to this. Clerk Bermudez, have we received any written communications?
Yes, President Powell, we have received several of which were forwarded to you via email, hard copies provided to you. We did receive a few others since the start of this meeting, which I have forwarded, unfortunately not able to print as I'm sitting here in the meeting, but will be provided to you as well and will be added to the official record.
Thank you. Council Frey, will you please comment on this hearing?
Yes, in compliance with the laws that are applicable to the process involving proposals for divestiture of service powers, the board has given the public the right to be heard and to provide oral or written testimony during this public hearing. All legal requirements have been satisfied in regard to the notice by publication to affect the local agencies, the county, and interested persons have been met that are related to this public hearing on the proposed resolution. CVW's in regard to the divestiture of CVWD's water service and wastewater service powers within ID8, the concurrent annexation thereto to Mission Springs Water District, and the related modification of the Mission Springs Water District sphere of influence.
Thank you. There being no further input to the divestiture of CVW's service and wastewater service powers within ID8, the concurrent annexation of that portion of CVW's boundaries into the Mission Springs Water District for the purpose of providing water service and wastewater service, and a related modification of Mission Springs Water District's sphere of influence, I hereby declare the public hearing closed. This is an opportunity for board discussion. Are there any questions or comments from members of the board?
Mr. President, if I could just
Go ahead.
make a couple of opening comments, and then I'm sure there are other questions, and I'll have other questions later too as well. But first, I want to thank those of you who have spoken and those who have provided written comments. You may not believe this, but your comments do have an impact on our decision. This has not been a precluded decision of either direction that we're going to go in. I want to make that really clear. A couple of you, I think, sort of made the impression that we'd already made a decision about this. We haven't. And I want to make that clear as we go forward with our discussion. But I wanted to move from there to a question to the general manager regarding the process and concern that was expressed about if we move forward with this, how long it does take, and does that take materially longer than doing a shared service agreement?
Yes, sir. Kind of open-ended on how long does the process take. Again, yeah, I appreciate that. A lot of it has to do with, where do we start? And as far as I'm concerned, I apologize to the community for not discussing this openly, but I had to at least figure out where my board members were before I wasted your time. With the vote today, again, it's not unilaterally. It's just an application for consideration. It's not binding on CVWD. We'll have an opportunity for discourse moving forward. You'll also have an opportunity to influence Mission Springs Water District, who then, with this resolution, it's one document in a bunch of documents that have to be submitted to LAFCO. A companion resolution has to be submitted by Mission Springs. If there's no resolution from Mission Springs, this doesn't go forward. Desert Hot Springs is a different issue. They're not necessarily involved in this, except there may need to be a sphere of influence change for them. There will need to be one for Mission Springs. We're not asking Desert Hot Springs to take over, incorporate the ID8 system, but we need, if we do step away, to allow Desert Hot Springs to develop the I-10 corridor. We'll need someone to manage the ID8 system. So the process, how long does it take? Hard to say. The next step will be Mission Springs. How quickly they submit or put together a resolution if they want to proceed. There's also a fiscal impact that has to be done. There's a plan of service that has to be done. We're willing to work collaboratively with Mission Springs, answer any questions they may have, as well as with Desert Hot Springs. This is not the end of the discussion, but it is the first step. If this board's not willing to move forward, I'm done. This goes nowhere. End of story. The shared service agreements are a different issue. We have looked at those. As we will retain responsibility from a domestic water service for every project that gets built in our service area, those development plans will have to move through our engineering department and go through our plan check. Those plans, because essentially the facility or the project is in our service area, has to be done according to our development design manual. Those development impact fees, because it's in our service area, will come to us. The design specifications for the sewer lines will come to us. We then eventually will be in charge of billing those customers after the infrastructure is in place at Mission Springs Water District's treatment costs. Because the sewage has got to, it will be, it doesn't have to, but will be going to their plant as the more economical solution. That will entail Mission Springs indemnifying us from all legal actions based on their rates that we use. It'll involve a 218 process for those folks in our service area to accept Mission Springs rates moving forward, because that's what the billing treatment is going to cost. So yeah, it's a shared service agreement, but we will look at those on a case-by-case basis because we have to maintain the oversight of the impact to the 4 wells that treat the ID8 system. Any new development down by the ID8 corridor is fed by that same system. And that's why I am trying to link the two of them together. There will be impacts to service as the I-10 corridor develops. So again, time-wise, I can't answer that question. I don't know. Paula may know, but it's an interactive until the package is complete and both sides are ready to move forward. LAFCO has no action to consider.
Could we have the attorney
Sure.
respond
Paula?
to that?
Yes, hi. Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great, yes. So because this proposal would also include a modification to the sphere of influence of Mission Springs Water District, it would likely also trigger what is called a municipal service review. LAFCO will probably conduct a study, and it is a study handled under the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Local Government Reorganization Act of 2000. I'm going to quiz you later on whether you remember that. Just kidding. But it is basically a review of the services provided by agencies within the area. So it would probably include a review of Mission Springs' wherewithal to provide the services within the area and the extent of those services, and including what CVWD is currently providing. Then that would be something that LAFCO would adopt. At the same time, it would be considering a sphere of influence amendment to Mission Springs and considering the divestiture of the services, the water and wastewater services by CVWD, and annexation of that territory into Mission Springs. The municipal service review is very much an iterative process. Typically, Riverside LAFCO does issue a draft municipal service review that is distributed to local agencies, affected local agencies, and the public, and posted on their website, so that way they can provide comment before it is actually considered for adoption. And LAFCO will also be having a public hearing on the actual change, the organizational change, the divestiture of the powers that the water and wastewater services, and then the annexation of the territory into Mission Springs. So it is a very iterative process, a very deliberative process. It isn't a very quick process, and that is, for a reason. When we make modifications to jurisdictional boundaries, LAFCOs really think long and hard about it, and they go through their normal process, which does take time and does include a public input.
Paula,
component.
this is Castulo Estrada.
Hi.
Hi. Maybe for reference, the city of Coachella just went through a similar process. Could you let the board know how long that took?
Okay, that process took several years, but that was because it was triggered by a municipal service review that LAFCO conducted, I think it was in 2021, started in 2021, probably ended in 2022. But it was for all the cities within Riverside County, but that did trigger the opportunity for Coachella, the city of Coachella, to request modification of its sphere of influence. And then thereafter, the annexation of territory into its boundaries. That just was completed, I think, or maybe it's going to be completed very soon. But it was a long process, a different kind of process, because I think there was some jurisdictional issues with the adjacent city. But yes, it took some time.
Yeah, and I think the city tried to go through what would have been the expedited process and was forced into an application process, which I think this is what we would have to do, right? Go through the application process?
Yes, you're going through this would be initiating the application process to LAFCO,
Yeah,
yes.
so would you say at minimum a year would be a good estimate, or more than that?
Yeah, normally if there isn't a municipal service review and sphere of influence amendment, I would say LAFCOs usually process boundary changes within 3 to 6 months, sometimes 9 months. With the municipal service review, I think probably a year is probably spot on.
Yeah, and if I could, just to clarify that a bit more, I have had a preliminary meeting with the Riverside LAFCO just to try and better understand the process, since we have not done an annexation or a divestiture here in the 15-plus years I've been here. But according to Riverside LAFCO, a full MSR, Municipal Service Review, is not required because Mission Springs Water District just did one recently. They would be willing to accept an amended, abbreviated MSR from Mission Springs. So I think that also will cut down some of the time required.
Okay. Any other comments, questions from the board?
I'll be short. I just want to thank the public for coming out. Obviously, this is a very important issue for you. It's really great to hear how satisfied you are with CBWD. A lot of positive comments. Makes me feel good up here to know that we're providing great service to you, to the community. I think you were very convincing about how happy you are, and also want to apologize for not having provided you more notice. I think I agree with your comment that we might have provided legally the notice that we're required to, but I think for something this important, we should have maybe done a little bit more. So I just wanted to apologize for that. I would just wanted to comment for the board that I think for purposes of allowing more discussion, at least for me, I would prefer that we do this in a different order. I know that it seems that right now we would be the first ones taking action on this resolution. I would much prefer to have the resolution passed by Mission Springs Water District before we consider ours. I think just to allow for some of that dialogue. But that's kind of it for me for now. Thank you.
So I'll say that although you guys are not part of my district, you did vote for me. You did vote for me almost 8 years ago. I'm a local guy, born and raised here, and I've spent time up there in Sky Valley. And I appreciate the rural setting that you guys have. There's a way of life up there that's different than the rest of the Coachella Valley. I get it. It hasn't changed much since the 50s and 60s and 70s. Okay, you drive up there today, it looks a lot the same. And I do think that not every decision should be made with economics involved. You know, I've been standing by you from the beginning when this first came up. I've been maybe the one, maybe there's two of us who've kind of fought back, but I've been kind of overruled here. And I'll stand with you again on this. I get it. I put myself in your shoes. My vote will be a no. So, and I'll do everything I can to stress to these board members that this is important. This is important things. You know, there's a couple of thousand people there. You know, we've got 500,000 people in this valley, but you do matter. You know, you do matter up there. Thanks for showing up today. Appreciate it.
Yes, my comments will be brief too. Yeah, thank you very much for showing up. I appreciate that. Appreciate your involvement in the community. You've made some really clear, concise, some great points. As Anthony said, he's got history there. I do too. My kids have raised goats and turkeys and things there at Ed Pagan's ranch there and in 4-H. So do have connection there. This action would be a first of a process. So it's as Jim said, it's not no real decisions have been made. I think the district is actively doing its job as you articulated well in terms of being an efficient organization, in terms of responding to the community where there's a need to organize jurisdictions in order to meet the needs of the community, which is Desert Hot Springs right at the edge of Sky Valley and Mission Springs Water District. I think your idea is intriguing, Costello, about maybe having the requester go first rather than responding that way, but we're part of the process. I will say, CVWD is not without its warts as well, so I wouldn't throw Mission Springs Water District under the bus in that regard. We do try our best, and I think our goal is to serve the community well, meet the water-related needs, both through water, sewer, flood protection, recharge of the aquifer, are very important, and I don't think I'm morally reprehensible for that. I think it's great to hear from you. I would say that the state of California has changed public health goals and maximum contaminant levels for constituents over time. Chromium-6 being one of those that's affecting our valley as well as Sky Valley. I don't think that we'll be able to hold the line on rates because of the requirements, which many of us think are somewhat bogus, but we fought that battle, I think, fairly valiantly, and have delayed it by many years in trying to present a stannous chloride treatment that would be that cheaper alternative, although we're still not finding regulatory success with that as an update, and we're still working on that. We have some studies going, but in an effort to have these lower treatment costs, but we think that the state and time is going to push us forward in terms of treatment sooner than later. So we're struggling with that. So I think that keep your eyes on the Desert Sun little fine print about potential adjustments in rates, and I think what we should try and be as upfront as possible on that. And one of the points was, hey, you're the low-cost provider, but I just want to be upfront about some of the clouds on the horizon in that realm. So those are my comments on the item. And
thank you. Well said.
Yeah. So, yeah, I also appreciate all of you coming out, and I don't think anybody's, well, maybe except for Anthony, had made up their mind prior to coming in here this morning, or at, at any point in time. So there's a lot more information that I think we need. What other ways can we solve a problem? And I mean, I think the problem is really Desert Hot Springs economic development. I mean, that's the main problem here. And how do we solve that? We have other issues with having this isolated system that's far away from us, and how do we solve that problem? And I find it interesting. I mean, first of all, this shared service agreement, I don't like it. I think it's an inelegant solution where you don't really know who's doing what. It's like in a contract that says you do part, I do part, who's responsible? Maybe it works as a temporary solution until during the time that we're trying to solve this problem, which could take a while. So on the rates, I have concerns about what was published. These are current rates that if you looked at our website for today's presentation, it looks like our rates are significantly lower on tiers 1 and 2 than the Mission Springs Water District rate. I'm talking domestic water. So this is today. What are our future rates going to look like? And I'd like to get a better sense of that. It's going to take some time internally for us to really get a sense of what our rates are going to look like out here, because there's some expensive issues that we need to deal with. So this idea that it'll always be $1.04 or $1.30 a unit, which is really low, that may not be the case for the future. We have a lot of lawsuits against us on rates. I mean, this is the crazy thing. I think we do have very good rates. Compared to anybody else, we definitely have very good rates. And yet that's where we're fighting all of our battles and spending a lot of money fighting these lawsuits. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I'd like to ask Jeff, I mean, if we could explore a hybrid solution. I get it, you folks aren't looking for sewer out there, which would be really expensive if it ever did happen. You don't want to pay that. Neither do we. And how and what the rate issues are and all of that. I'd like to ask Jeff. I mean, what are our options now? You have a yes vote, you have a no vote. Is there a way to table this and allow the process to move in a different order?
So the hearing is closed, but the item to consider the resolution can be continued. If the vote is to continue it, there should be some direction, such as the consideration of the resolution will be continued to the regular board meeting following action taken by the Mission Springs Water District Board. If you wanted to do something completely different with the services and everything mentioned in the resolution, I would not recommend that, because that's not part of the analysis that's been done. So it can be continued for the reason of waiting for after the Mission Springs. It can be continued to get further information brought back by the staff. And of course, members of the public can speak on the item as it comes up. It just won't be a public hearing at that point. Right. So you can continue it for further analysis. You can continue it for further analysis and to wait till after Mission Springs Water District, one or both of those.
So if I could just say, so this idea really kind of morphed from an initial discussion that we had with Desert Hot Springs and multiple developers who were interested in developing in that triangle there at 10 and Palm. And I mean, I lived in Desert Hot Springs for 20 years, had a major successful business there, but I know how economically depressed that area is and how badly it needs help. And so I recognize that maybe economics for some people is not the only consideration, but for me, I think that we have some responsibility to help accelerate whatever process that we can construct. And maybe it's something different than, a service agreement. I mean, I don't know. But This got complicated when we introduced the ID8 possibility and doing a consolidation. And, those considerations are now impacting what we can do to help facilitate the development on that POM corridor. So before I can take, at this point, any further action on any kind of a resolution or intention, I need to understand better from our organization, what can we do to help Desert Hot Springs move forward with some development options in that corridor?
I'll piggyback on that. I'm wondering the same thing, if there's a way to address Desert Hot Springs issue without necessarily tying all of the ID8 area to it. It seems like the Desert Hot Springs section is tiny, if it's just that triangle compared to the rest of the system. I know there's some financials that we got to look at on our side, but maybe that we can focus on a smaller area where there is no service right now. There is no water or sewer service, and maybe that can be divested to allow for that area to grow. That has no impact to any of our existing customers. Those things are of interest to me. I don't quite fully understand why we have to wrap the entire ID8 system, other than some things that we might want to avoid, but I'll leave it at that.
I would just remind everybody that there's economic development infrastructure problems throughout the whole valley. Okay, it might not be with sewer, but it's with power, or it's with flood control, or there's something. Maybe that area just shouldn't be built for right now. I mean, there's infrastructure problems in Mecca, Thermal, Oasis, Coachella, Indio. I mean, there's problems everywhere throughout this whole valley. I mean, we can't solve every problems, but the developers kind of move to where they can fix these problems. Maybe we're forcing something that shouldn't be forced, at the backs of a lot of residents up there that shouldn't be burdened by this. So, I mean, I just think the juice is not worth the squeeze, to put it in an agricultural sense, that this thing it's just maybe just not worth it. I mean, it's just too much time and effort on this whole process. We put a lot of time and effort in this, and maybe it's time to move on. And on top of that, I don't think the MSWD board, it'd be different if all 5 of those members are really in favor of this. I don't think so. I think it's going to be a real close vote over there, which tells you something. Possibly.
Well, apparently it'll be a real close vote here if it even happens.
Okay. Well,
got a
we're looking for a motion. Sure, come on.
have
Come on up to the
Incredibly
mic.
brief comment. It's not regarding the development. Oh, I'm sorry. Lisa Toasty, Sky Valley. The issue of the Chromium-6, I was thinking about that, and I know when you guys originally were looking at options for that, you were looking at drilled down like household options that were very inexpensive, but were kind of logistically, overarchingly unsustainable for the whole valley. But if you're looking at Chromium-6 just in 1,000 households of Sky Valley, perhaps doing something on a very micro level would be much less expensive. You talked about individual filtrations in homes and things like that. And I know that it's a logistical headache, but if you're also just trying to buy a few years to get to your research, if it's going to save you $26 million in treatment just for Sky Valley, just an idea. I know.
The state won't allow it.
It's a great idea,
Oh,
but
they won't
we're-
allow it? Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay,
no,
I'm
it-
sorry.
it
I
makes-
just remembered when, and I was
It
like,
makes it makes a ton of sense.
since
It
we're
makes
such a,
perfect sense.
since we're so isolated also, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No worries. Yeah, I appreciate that.
appreciate.
There's lots of wells that don't have any chromium-6 or
I
way
know.
below the things, but moving them around, the district's going through every possible option we have.
I know you are, I just was thinking that.
No,
Thank
I
you.
mean, and our
I
next, Our next public hearing is relating to PFAS, so.
Yeah. I certainly
Even if we
appreciate-
solve the Crump 6 problem, you're gonna have a PFAS problem too, which is.
But I do appreciate how thoroughly you are examining the complexity of issues and trying to address the issues just where, as needed. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, a consolidation with Mission Springs Water District would allow a cheaper solution because they have wells that aren't impacted that could basically interconnect and blend with the IDA system. We do not.
Well, maybe we do a shared service agreement on water too. As much as I don't like that. Yeah, whatever.
Just get simpler.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're identifying the problems and I think there are different options for solutions and we're trying to figure out what works best.
We
And
need state funding.
I think it really,
won't get state
I think it was very good for you all to show up today.
Yes.
So, there you go. Is there a motion to
Do something.
continue this item? I would like to see that if there is
Yeah,
one.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we continue this item after the Mission Springs Water District takes action and bring then the results of their direction back to our board for future consideration.
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion before we vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passed 5-0. All right. Thank you. You're welcome to stay for the next public hearing, but I don't think you want to.
Have a good day.
Goodbye.
Another one, eh? There's other possible solutions to this. It might be, it's gonna be a little bit easier to get to over there.
That was a good idea. I know it. I mean, look, everything they said about CBWD, I appreciate. But you know what? I'm sorry, but their rates are, come on.
Well, theirs are gonna go up too. Why can't we
No,
get state money? Why can't we
that's
get
okay.
state money? Why can't we have our assembly member go up and put a bill to fix all these things? I mean, why can't we do that?
Because there isn't enough money.
So that we're not discussing the matter after it's been.
No, we weren't.
I
I'm
wasn't
talking
talking
about
to
other
Just for
another,
the streaming.
I wasn't talking to another board member.
Okay, it was just about the Dodgers, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I love the Dodgers. Well, all right, we're on to another public hearing and there's a script. Let's go.
Joanne, good morning.
Good morning.
You're way less popular than.
I
last
am.
So at this
Sat for a
time,
hot second.
yeah, Joanne. So at this time, staff will provide a presentation on the notice of availability of report on domestic water quality relative to public health goals and to accept and respond to public comments on this report as authorized by Chapter 4, Article 5, Section 116470 of the Health and Safety Code. Following the presentation, we will open the public hearing. And making the presentation this morning, Joanne Lee, Director of Environmental Service, who will provide us with an overview of the Public Health Goals Report. Floor is yours.
Good morning, President Powell and members of the board. My name is Joanne Lay, of Director of Environmental Services. We have prepared our 10 public health goal report for the Cove Community Public Water System in accordance with the California Health and Safety Code.
Joanne, if I
shown
could just
here.
interrupt.
Yes.
The Cove Community System is everything but
Yes,
IDA.
Right, yes.
Got it.
With over 10,000 service connections, that's the requirement of the Health and Safety Code. The service area span from Cathedral City to Huts Mineral Spa and Salton City. And that is shown here in the map in that darker blue shaded area. And the report is prepared every 3 years and contain information on the detections of regulated constituents in drinking water and at level above the public health goals for calendar years 2022, 2023, and 2024. Please note that the public health goal is defined as the level of a constituent in drinking water below which there's no known or expected health risk. And they're not enforceable standards. Go. During this time period, as I mentioned, there were 8 regulated constituents detected above their respected California public health goals or federal maximum contaminant level goals. It is important to note that these detections were below the respective state and federal maximum contaminant levels, which are enforceable. And the 8 constituents are arsenic, chrome-6, DBCP, gross alpha, excluding uranium, perchlorate, radium-228, total coliform, and uranium. And this table also shows the best technology that were identified to treat these constituents in their reverse osmosis, granular activated carbon and ion exchange, and for total coliform, disinfectant residual. And thus, the note to bring home here is that we continue to comply with state and federal drinking water standards for these 8 constituents. And this table shows the best available technology implementation cost estimates that staff has put together. The annual cost to implement these technologies for the 86 wells in the Cove Community Public Water System with the detectable constituents that I mentioned before is $393 million, and these were in 2024 dollars. The annual cost per customer is $3,518, which is approximately 2.27 times more than the EPA affordable threshold of $1,553. So the implementation of these technologies is just not economically feasible. So in summary, as I mentioned before, the Cove Community Public Water System complies with Curtin's drinking water standards up to 2024. And the effectiveness of the identify best available technology to meet the health goals set at or close to 0 is uncertain. And of course, the cost to implement these technologies exceeds the US EPA affordability threshold and is not economically feasible, as I mentioned, and staff recommends that we continue evaluating future water treatment advancements to identify feasible technologies to meet the health goals. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. We'll get to the board questions and after we listen to the public, right? Okay, go pretty quickly. This is a time and place for a public hearing to receive public comments on the Public Health Goals Report. Clerk Bermudez, have we completed proper notification of this hearing?
Yes, President Powell, we have, and notice the public hearing was published in both the Desert Sun and Pearl Valley Press newspapers of general circulation.
I hereby declare the public hearing open. Does anyone in attendance at this public hearing wish to be heard? And if so, please give your name and address and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Seeing none, Clerk Bermudez, have we received any written communications?
No, President Powell, we have not.
Thank you. Council Frey, will you please comment on this public hearing?
The board has given the public the right to be heard during this public hearing. All legal requirements have been satisfied in regard to the notice availability of report on domestic water quality relative to public health goals.
Thank you. Gremlin next to me.
I can hear you.
There's no formal vote or action needed from the board. However, staff is looking for direction and is requesting authorization to continue evaluating future advancements in water treatment to identify technology capable of meeting all public water health, drinking water public health goals and maximum contaminant level goals that would be economically feasible to implement. So here's our opportunity. Yes, go ahead.
So I have a comment. So I get public health goals are not financially feasible to address. I did notice on the chart that chromium-6 was at 15, which is above the 10 maximum contaminant level, which is a regulatory number that we have to meet. And that we are currently, if somebody looks at this report in isolation, they'd look at this report and say, hey, your 15's above 10 on the MCL. It's very expensive, but it's a new regulation that we're developing a compliance agreement according with the State Water Board and have just sought legislation to be able to have, for us to implement a plan of compliance within the time frame that the state allows. So I just wanted to make that comment and see, that's my story, and see if that differs from, Jim, from you, or Joanne, if that differs from how you see the chromium-6 level at 15 in the chart.
So that 15 part per billion that showed in the chart that was detected in 2024 was detected before the regulation came into effect. Even though it wasn't enforceable, we had to show it in this report. So perhaps next time we can have a little footnote showing that, and we have reached out to DDW to raise our concern on that. But moving forward, POS regulation, we are working on a plan to address these exceedances to comply with the MCL.
Yeah, the new MCL.
Yes, the new MCL.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Anything else?
So just for clarification, this report is being triggered because we have more than 10,000 connections?
Correct.
And then as part of that, we're rolling in treatment options for the 5 wells that are impacted? Or is
That's
this just
PFAS, and PFAS was detected in 2025. So the next cycle of our public health report, goal report, which will be due in 2028, will include that information at that time.
So this is just all about the report?
Correct.
Okay.
And the data that we collected between 2022 and 2024.
The 5 wells that you identified in the exhibit, that's PFAS too, right? That's not PFAS?
Which exhibit are you speaking to, sir?
The last exhibit, attachment 6, attachment 6.
Attachment 6. Are you looking at the presentation?
That's stuff for the later item.
Okay, I'm sorry. Am I on
That's
the-
an action item.
I got it.
This
Okay.
is the public hearing.
Yeah.
Are they, they're both about PFAS though, right?
No.
No, this is
No.
all
This
the
is about
8
the
constituents that we detected between 2022 and 2024.
I said it was PFAS, I was wrong.
Okay, this is for
PFAS.
everything.
For everything
For every,
that we're
for every
detecting.
contaminant.
Yeah, this 8, yes.
Through 2024.
2024, that's
Alright,
the key.
got
So
it.
it'll
Yes.
be a lot of PFAS.
I'm sorry, I got stuck with PFAS.
No
Thank
worries,
you.
it's a
Alright.
later item.
It's coming
so-
up. It's coming
Thank
up.
you,
That's-
appreciate it.
Yes, not a problem.
So I would recommend a motion to adopt the staff recommendation, only in that it does direct the general manager to proceed to evaluate future advancements and acknowledge that the board has received the report. So I'd recommend a motion to adopt the staff recommendation on this item.
I second it. My mic keeps going off, by the way.
All in favor, say aye. Mine's off again, too. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass.
I was just gonna say, no, I wasn't.
Jeff?
I was not hitting the
Jeff.
red button.
It's Jeff. He's muting you.
Nice.
He's muting
No,
you.
I was
Because
not.
remember you cut
No,
everybody
I
off
turned
when
this
you
back.
do that.
5-0.
Blame it on the council.
5-0, 8-A.
I want a button for you, Jeff.
we have a big button for Jeff. 8A. Sabrina, come on up. This is a approved solicitation of bids for well rehab projects. Project numbers, 2 different wells. Good morning again, Sabrina.
Good morning again. That is correct. It's a request to approve solicitation of bids for a well rehabilitation project for fiscal year '26. We are proposing to rehabilitate 2 wells, well 5718 and well 5725. And the purpose and intent is to reduce chromium concentrations to hopefully not have to treat those 2 wells. And I can answer any additional questions that you may have.
Like a great plan.
Yes. So, Sabrina, I have a question. Is this maybe the first of a few? Is this like a test situation where we'll find out information about how we might treat other wells as well?
We did one last year and successfully reduced the concentrations. These 2 wells in particular have screen intervals that make them good candidates for potentially being successful to reduce chromium concentrations. And if we are, then these 2 wells would not need to be treated. There aren't too many others that fall into this particular category, so it's not a solution to all of the treatment in our system, but potentially for these 2 wells, it could resolve treatment in that area.
Excellent response. Thank you.
Sabrina,
Oh,
sorry. Help me remember, did we actually have a study where we went into a lot of the wells to try to make an assessment if we could do this?
Not by obtaining water quality at depth discrete intervals. We do have water quality, blended water quality at each of the wells, so we know the blended concentrations. Within engineering, we have evaluated how the wells are constructed, so we're looking at the age, the type of material, the depth, the screen intervals. For those that are screened very deep, so where the screens start at a very deep interval and maybe are only a couple hundred feet, those are generally not good candidates. We can't really do much to work with those. So a lot of those wells are going to be taken offline and or drill new wells or treated. These 2 in particular, again, as we look at how they were constructed, we're able to modify the well, so effectively bringing the depth of the well up and or blanking off some of the screen intervals to avoid the areas where chromium is entering the well. But through this effort, we're going to obtain additional water quality that will be more depth specific to help us narrow that down.
Thank you.
But to answer your other question, through the valley, we don't have as much data to be able to pinpoint that as exactly, so we have to go through
and
this
the
effort.
reason I brought it up is I thought I had heard some comments a few months ago where there was like a conversation of whether folks wanted to participate in some type of study like that where there was, imagine monitoring happening at different depths to try to figure out if there was like a sweet spot.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if that's kind of something that we did.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And then in this effort, that's effectively what we're going to be doing is obtaining those depth discrete samples to
Okay.
identify the higher or lower chromium concentrations and narrow in on refining that design.
Thank you.
Do you think it's gonna be the same sweet spot for everywhere in the valley, or we just don't know enough?
We don't have enough information to know that for sure. Again, we're kind of looking at trends on how the wells are constructed. There's certain similarities that we can draw between wells and other things that just simply can't be explained. So while it would be a neat and clean answer, right, to get we go to one well and we find out it's at 1,000 to 1,100 feet, it's likely not to be the case through the valley, and so we would have to go well by well.
Are you doing any of that for like the new wells that we're drilling right now?
We absolutely are. So the last well that we drilled, which was the developer-driven Cotino well, we did that because there was a concern that we could have higher chromium concentrations. So we obtained depth discrete samples through the entire well construction to really refine that design. So while we intended to go 1,200 feet, we actually only went to about 900 feet for that reason.
So you found a sweet spot on that?
A better design, yes.
Yeah. for lower chromium levels?
Lower chromium as well as just water quality in general, because out here we also have to be concerned about nitrate. Nitrate tends to be in the shallow zone, so shallow is not better. So we are always trying to kind of avoid one constituent or the other.
All right, thank you. Maybe that's where I heard it from, that you were going to take those tests.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
With that, I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, pass 5-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sabrina.
B, PSA for Crollo for evaluation of treatment options for PFAS. Joanne again?
Good morning,
Morning.
Board. Joanne again. Now we can talk about those 5 wells. So this item is for the staff request, the board authorize the general manager to execute PSA with Corolla in the amount of $954,805 for the evaluation of treatment and non-treatment options and recommendations to comply with PFAS regulation project. It is also recommended that the board authorize the additional contingency in the amount of $95,481 for a total request of $1,050,286. The project is included in the approved fiscal year 2026 budget in the amount of $500,000 and the remaining funding in the amount of $550,286 will be included in the fiscal year 2027 budget development process. Do you have any questions, or do you need
No,
additional information?
I know this is probably not even a good question, but that well, it just bugs me, and I thought I would just say something. The one, 5673-1, as far as I recall, that is adjacent to, I think, a site with a Edison substation.
Correct, it's right next to it.
Yeah. And I don't know about these other wells that are getting hits. I mean, it's just a mystery to me where this comes from, you know, and because these aren't really industrial areas. And is anyone looking at that?
So that's part of the proposal, is to look at source tracking beside a treatment and non-treatment option. And Corolla proposal it was very comprehensive in all 3 aspects of our scope of work.
Okay.
Though it was a little bit higher than the other 2 proposals that came in, which mainly focus on treatment and not looking at non-treatment option, which we've talked about all morning, is to keep rate low. And so we would like to be informed in making these decisions to implement treatment, maybe perhaps blending with non-treatment option to keep rates low, like we did with the Chrome 6 study.
Yeah, okay, so they're gonna be looking at what possibilities of the source of this.
Correct, and as you can see here, it's very localized around the Monterey Country Club.
No
area.
kidding, no, I
It-
know.
Yeah, that's what,
Yes.
Can we surround it?
We have looked and looked and looked, but it's important that we track the source, and if it's still active, then we can do something about it. At the same time, having to implement treatment, non-treatment option to comply with the federal MCL.
Have we looked at a sweet spot on there too? The same kind of thing?
For depth of what,
Depth.
you mean, depth of
That
screening?
would be our non-treatment option that we'll be evaluating.
So would a non-treatment option be going to the source and working out some sort of a barrier? What would be an example of a couple of non-treatment options?
We can look at, so the 2 wells that are in red, which are shut down, not active, inoperable at this point, can we shut those 2 wells down, drill new wells, and without any PFAS concentration, depending on the sites that they'll be evaluating? And at the same time, meeting the water demand for this zone. The valley pressure zone is a huge pressure zone, so we gotta balance the demand, supply demand, as well as staying in compliance.
Thanks.
Well, I'll just
But
say,
you can look at, sorry.
I was just gonna say the resume, the team that got put together is very impressive, so.
Yes. I mean, you got Corolla, who's got have had 65 projects, PFAS projects under the belt, and 14 of which are in California. as well as Tug Groundwater has done tons of work in the valley and Akel as well. So they have local knowledge and
Yeah.
so.
I just wanted to make comment. It's a very
Yeah.
impressive
Yeah,
team.
yeah.
Sorry.
Is there a motion to approve? Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
did
he
you
had a
have
comment.
something
He
else?
has a
Okay,
comment.
go ahead.
I'm past it.
I wish you had a mic for me.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne.
Thanks, Joanne.
Okay, this is the CEQA,
William.
Patterson, yeah. You only show up when it's environmental CEQA stuff.
Your favorite.
Oh, you cracked the code.
Good morning. We're requesting their adoption approval for the addendum to the certified environmental impact report for the Desert Retreat specific plan project, and authorize staff to file a notice of determination. In this particular instance, CBWD is a responsible agency under CEQA. The lead agency was the City of Indio, who wrote the EIR on behalf of Colte Homes, the Desert Retreat specific plan. In this case, our responsibility is the construction of the second reservoir that is required for service to the HOA for the community. And we're building this reservoir on an existing site that's been pre-disturbed during the initial construction of the reservoir that's currently there. So this project was assessed against the environmental impacts in the original EIR. And it's been determined that there's no changes in the significance of those impacts, and those mitigation measures are appropriate to apply for construction of the reservoir as well. There's also a figure, if you're interested, on page 46 of the addendum that shows the layout of the existing reservoir and then the reservoir within the previously disturbed area. With that, I'll take any questions.
Do we have a motion to approve this item?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passed 5-0. Thank you, William.
Thank you.
All right. Written communications, I think we had 2 that were actually included in the packet, plus all the others that were related to the hearing, right? We do have an information presentation on our legislative year-end review. Karen, good morning.
Good morning.
Still morning? Yeah.
Yes. Good morning.
Feels like.
For the record, I'm Karen Borja, the Government Affairs Program Manager at the district. I wanted to share with you all a quick end of session update from Sacramento. CVWD advocacy and coalition building were central in a lot of bills, but most notably our co-sponsored bill, Senate Bill 466, authored by Senator Caballero, which made it all the way through the legislature about 2 weeks ago and is now sitting on the governor's desk. If signed, it provides a compliance safeguard for Chromium-6 and ensures that water agencies aren't unfairly penalized while we implement our state-approved compliance plan. It will be a big win for us and our ratepayers once it's signed by the governor, and the likelihood of it being signed is very high as of today.
CVWD staff spent a great deal of time working this issue. I'm very pleased, very proud of what they were able to accomplish. It's magic.
So I have the next issue for you to work on. And that's getting funding for this.
Oh.
I mean,
I can
that's
touch
what we
on that.
need, is we need funding for PFAS and we need funding for Chromium-6. I mean, and we need legislation and we need a bill to put up and to not just for us, but for everybody in California.
Fair. I will share that Senate Bill 454 established the PFAS Mitigation Fund, which also passed. While the bill does not set a dollar amount yet, it does create a structure for the State Water Board to administer grants and loans for PFAS treatment. Importantly, it also allows the state to pull in federal and private dollars to reduce the cost that would otherwise fall to local ratepayers. That was not something that had been previously available to anyone in the state. And that also will include Prop 4 funding. 2 other bills that are important to us.
Excuse me, that was just for PFAS?
Correct. It's just a PFAS mitigation bill. Prop Proposition 4 does allow for chromium-6 treatment funding. However, there was no allocation of Proposition 4 funds by the state legislature this year for that kind of water treatment. So we will keep working on it and we will keep asking. We did make a trip to Sacramento earlier in the year requesting that the State Water Board consider large agencies such as ours in their state revolving fund for chromium-6 funding. Senate Bill 72, it modernizes the California Water Plan. That also passed and it's awaiting the governor's signature. Senate Bill 394, it straightens penalties for water theft. It also passed, headed to the governor. We're also expecting him to sign that. This bill gives agencies like ours stronger tools against hydrant and meter tampering, as well as water theft from both of those. On the budget side, two really big developments. Again, Proposition 4, the $10 billion climate resiliency bond, finally has a spending plan. That did not happen up until the last week of the legislature. So of the $3.8 billion for water, $1.2 billion were allocated in this year's budget. $20 million of that will go for the Golden Mussel Program, something that CVWD has been interested in. Unfortunately, the conveyance project only received $2 million. Initially, it falls really short of the $33 million that we had been advocating for with Proposition 4 funding. The governor also signed a bill restoring $351 million for the Healthy Rivers and Landscape Program, a revision from earlier cuts. That funding supports the Bay Delta health and water supply reliability. Not every bill moved forward. SB 496, which would have provided more flexibility under the Advanced Fleet Regulations, stalled in committee. So looking ahead, our advocacy now continues directly with the governor's office, where he has until October 12th to sign or veto any of these measures. Last week, we sent him sort of a big NASCAR letter with over 30 water providers asking him to sign Senate Bill 466. Some of those water providers were like the City of Sacramento, City of Indio, City of Coachella, and then some of the bigger associations that also jumped on, like CMUA, Aqua, and the League of California Cities. So as Jim mentioned, it's been a long effort, but we are expecting the governor to sign it. Can I answer any of your questions?
Thank you.
Great, thank you all.
On to Board General Comments, Director.
I have a question for you.
For legislative.
With the trailer bill for the DCP not moving forward in the legislature, what happens now with any advancement of the Delta Conveyance Project? I mean, what's the process now for moving that forward? Is it just not fast-tracked and stalled in regulation, or what's from a legislative side? So I know that we were advocating for, the trailer bill for the Delta Conveyance Project to move forward. So that didn't move forward, so what happens now?
I do have Cyrus on the line, and he may be better adequately prepared to answer that question.
Okay. Cyrus, you got an idea on that?
Oh, we might need Sylvia's help.
He's very soft-spoken.
Well, let me see. I'm not licensed to operate on that.
No, you're not.
She's just talking. Let me see. Anybody heard any good jokes lately?
I just wanted to
Jimmy Kimmel's back on tonight.
Just wanted to congratulate my fellow board members on being petty functionaries.
Oh,
I had to write that one down.
That was not nice.
So I guess while we're waiting for Cyrus to get on the line, appreciate the question, Director Nelson, on that. We've had some, last week I was in Sacramento, and we've had a lot of discussion on this. I think the way it was characterized from Jennifer Pierre and also Carla Nemeth, the director of DWR, they didn't really necessarily see this as a defeat. They just saw this as a delay. I think while I think the 5 elements contained within the trailer bill
Yeah, Cyrus, hold on just a minute.
would have accelerated, I think, some of the certainty on the process, including not inconsequential, the bonding authority for DWR. I think the department was already prepared for this not to go forward. So, anyways, it doesn't affect, I think, the schedule in a negative way. I think if the passage had gone through, it would have provided a little bit more certainty on it. I think there was clearly, I think, a lot of support. Karen talked about NASCAR letter for another item, but I think Carla mentioned that there was like 130 different agencies that signed on to it, including CVWD. So what we're going to do is take this model and then sort of replicate it for another very important issue, which is subsidence on the aqueduct. So I don't want to take too much of your time here, but I thought I would give you a preview, and I think Cyrus might be able to provide you from a legislation standpoint where we go from here.
Okay. So Cyrus, the question I had was with the trailer bill regarding the Delta Conveyance Project not coming for a vote, what happens next in the legislature, if anything, regarding the Delta Conveyance Project?
Thank you, and good morning. What you just heard was outstanding, and the reality is DCP does not require legislation. However, as just mentioned, it certainly would have helped to clear out some of these obstacles. So we can try it again, but if not, they will simply proceed apace, which means slugging their way through litigation and public hearings and challenged rulings ad nauseum. That's what the legislation would have really helped with, but if that's the way to do it, then we can go that route. I would point out one silver lining, which is that this was a massive effort, and though we didn't achieve our goal, keep in mind that over half the legislature has been in office less than 2 years now because of the massive turnover we've had through the last 2 cycles. So one thing we did do was we educated a lot of members who had never heard of this before. So this was a high hill to climb right from the beginning. And though we didn't get to the top, we made great progress, and there's nothing stopping us from coming right back. And the disadvantage of being on offense is that all the other side has to do is muddy the waters. The advantage is we only have to win one time. So we didn't win this year. We haven't won this for the last decade. So it didn't happen this year. We can try again next year.
Thanks for the silver lining. Thank you, Cyrus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, general board comments, Director Nelson.
No comments. I do have I think that we considered item 10B, request for future agenda items, earlier, but if I could kind of include that in my comments is there was some discussion last meeting about a plan for addressing some of the BIA or developer questions about turnover in plans, and so I'm hoping that comes to the board, some kind of addressing that issue sometime soon.
Refresh my memory, there
Plan
was
check.
a request for
Plan checks?
Discussion from DVBA about plan check timing and delays.
Right, correct.
So that's an internal organization issue that we have already initiated. And I think, time will tell on whether or not this has actually succeeded. but there's been a high number of turnover in that particular department, which has caused delays. I won't try and deny that the system has
Yeah, no, sure.
got some
yeah.
problems.
No, sure.
But I think what I have insisted staff do is be consistent with the policies of the board and not be giving certain individuals special consideration.
I completely agree with that goal, Jim, in terms of like the item that came before us today, right?
Yes.
All right. So I'm and in that I'm not looking for any special consideration, but if things, it seemed to me like something had changed in terms of their progression with the consortium and how that might affect a potential a potential expedition of the project, right? So if
Right.
they have something going, I mean, maybe they're starting construction. I don't know. We couldn't discuss it, right? But I guess what I'm looking.
Okay, well, that's the fire alarm, and we're required to vacate, so we'll suspend the board
I
meeting.
think there's a great shakeout today.
Is it?
I thought I got an email about it.
The regular meeting is reconvened. We were recessed for a fire alarm for about 5 minutes, but here we are. Okay,
Yes, and
great.
getting back to Director Nelson's request for item on our development services, we'll bring in an information item to the board. It won't really be a BAI, because we're not making a request for anything at this point. We may be requesting additional personnel, but not at this
But
point.
an informational report would be
Yeah.
great, Jim.
Perfect.
I
Yes, sir.
appreciate that. And that's all I have for comments.
Do we have a certain date or just
Thank you.
I'll have to defer to Carrie. I don't know whether we can do it next meeting or the meeting after that. Definitely within the next 2 meetings, probably the second meeting, which would be the second meeting in October.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Aguilar, Dr. Bianco.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Director Nelson. Just want to echo what you said. I've been getting a lot of kind of similar calls regarding concerns for plan checking and kind of turnaround. And so I'm looking forward to hearing this informational item. Hopefully, well, if there's a need to have a conversation about staffing, certainly open to that. But yes, looking forward to that conversation. Thank you for bringing that up. That's it.
And I did have some email correspondence that Jim sent me subsequent to that
Okay.
being
Yeah,
raised.
I can share with the whole board, but the request
Yeah.
was from the president, so that's how I responded.
There you go. Did you get yours yet?
I
Your
did.
comments?
I just went.
That was it?
Yeah, that was it.
So I just wanted to note, because I don't know that I've mentioned this yet, but I'm going to be out of the country in November. And I noticed that Veterans Day, which is the day before I leave, is November, let me get there, 11th, right? So that regular meeting date we're not meeting that day.
We're meeting on the 18th instead,
Right.
and we only have the one meeting for the month.
So based on that, I'm out of the country. I will miss that meeting.
Yeah, I have that noted on my calendar.
Okay, so
that
I'm
you're out.
I'm not going to be in any of the November meetings. I do see that there's an opportunity for 2 meetings in October.
Correct.
So if I don't know where we are on this reconsideration item, but keep that in mind. I guess maybe you're better off without me, but
I
or
think
maybe
you should
there-
be here. I think we should
Yeah.
have it in October.
But we might be able to get it done in October. Who knows?
Mhm.
Those 2 meetings. Otherwise, it would have to be December.
Correct, and we only have one meeting in December as well.
Right. Right. And then I'm just curious about CRUA. Is everyone planning on attending CRUA?
That's the December 16th through 18th.
16th through 18th in Vegas,
I
Caesar's
would be
Palace.
away on a
I'll be.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they went,
That's a week later than
they went
normal,
week
right?
3 this year.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it is. We might not see the rodeo guys there this year.
Right?
Yeah, PBR's the week
Rodeo.
before.
It is.
It is. I'm looking.
That's actually good.
Yeah, anyways,
I'll pack that
we
place
can talk more about it, about planning, trying to plan our time there, but.
And I believe those who are going to Couragest, we've registered those who have advised. I know Director Nelson, you did your own, but we
Yep.
have that, and then I think, did we register?
I don't know that I
Applied?
think I read, I don't know. I'm
Okay,
a
we'll look.
trustee, so I think
I think they book you.
they book me anyways, but
They
they,
book you.
not necessarily with the hotel, so I guess I need to follow up on that.
I'll look into that, and then I think we have you.
I hopefully I replied yes, but
If not,
if
yes,
not, here's
and
my
then-
yes.
I replied yes.
You did.
So there'll be 4.
So we have 4.
There'll be 4 there. Okay. I mean, it should be it'll be almost as interesting as next year's CRUA meeting, which will be even the most interesting one as the 2006 guidelines expire. But this one is a big deal.
Before we move on, just we have the Palm Desert State of the City. I don't know who's going to that. I think you're going to. Yeah.
When is that?
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
So I think I'm going to be there.
I think I signed up.
Yeah.
On the
Okay.
26th?
On the 3rd.
Oh, on the 3rd.
I'm
Let
sorry.
me
Am
check.
I?
I
Am
will
I?
tell you
No,
who's-
you're right. You're not this Friday, next Friday.
Yeah, this next Friday.
Okay.
Hopefully we get better seats.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have,
Did you hear that, Sylvia?
Directors Bianco, Aguilar, and Estrada. No, I did not. What happened?
Hopefully we can have better seats.
What, where was the,
Like-
the valley?
Like the very, very last one.
Is it,
Like you need
is it
the-
first come,
The
first
seat
serve?
with a little hole in the
Is
bottom.
that
with
why?
the toilet
They
paper
said
next
it's
to it.
open seating table, so maybe we
Oh.
should pony up and buy a.
Yeah, so for Palm Desert, we have Directors Bianco, Aguilar, and Estrada going. I don't know if we have staff going. Is anybody going? I'm looking at Scott and Karen. All right. All, the
right.
3 of you are going?
Just Lorraine.
Oh, just Lorraine. Okay.
You can put me down for that one. I'll go to see the mayor.
Let me,
Desert.
we'll register you
Yeah,
then.
Jan. I don't be there. Hey, and also are
might
we
be
still
able-
on for the Lake Owea thing, or is that the one that
I
got
haven't
canceled?
heard back.
There's no date.
Parchella on the 4th.
Yeah,
Parchella.
Parchella, is that
No,
gone?
it was, moved
It's gone.
potentially to November 8th.
It's still on the calendar. That's why I'm confused.
They'll move
So
it to a
maybe
date that we can't go.
delete it.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
it down as the 4th.
Hold on.
I have it so that's no longer good?
Correct.
Okay.
Parchella.
October 4 is no longer good. For
Great
that
name.
All
event.
right, that's it.
Great name.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Parchella.
Right, let's get into meetings. September 10th, Director Nelson, California 440.
Oh, yeah, here. I prepared some comments. Let's see, on September 10th, we had a California 440 meeting, Section 5 contractors and guests. We convened at Metropolitan Water District of Southern California in LA. The main focus was the ongoing negotiations for the 2026 guidelines and the USBR operating plans for Powell and Meade. Specifically, the discussions were surrounded around the 7 basin states in the lower basin and how California might adjust to that. The executive director, a primary agenda involved updates on these discussions, critical to addressing the ongoing water scarcity issues and negotiating the allocation of these resources in the upper and lower basin. Metropolitan supplied a update on the meetings that were held between Imperial Irrigation District, IID, and CBWD. Notably, this meeting really didn't involve specific quantities of voluntary contributions, which was, different than the other discussions. The area was focused on principles of agreement regarding these declining lake levels, system-wide storage, and insufficient runoff. Let's see, I'll skip through that. And it's interesting to note that the USBR is still focusing on power production, which is a secondary issue to the flood protection irrigation and domestic water delivery. Let's see, and so the proposed shift from the consumptive use model to the natural flow model with fixed percentages for the upper basin and lower basin is facing some resistance from the upper basin with a very inflexible stance on that. And they're demanding that the lower basin take additional cuts over the 1.5 million before they have any participation and want to see programs for that. There certainly is a time sensitivity to this, and we saw a timeline with the urgency of reaching this consensus. It'll be a miracle if that happens. And the outlook looks pretty bleak in terms of having 7 basin states, but discussions are still ongoing, so not out of a realm of possibilities. But the lower basin is, I think, developing their plan in that. So that was probably a good summary.
Thank you. Same day, Director Aguilar, the Salton Sea
Sure.
Association.
So that was a meeting, one-on-one meeting with Patrick to discuss a couple of items. One was to provide some input for the board retreat, which is going to be taking place in October, and working a bit on the agenda for that meeting, which will be facilitated by a consultant. And then also, we discussed the next steps, action steps that the Conservancy is considering as they start to staff up and form the board.
Okay, good. September 11th, Desert Healthcare District, Director Estrada.
Yeah, I had mentioned I'd be part of that. I was there with staff. Staff had a booth. There's a lot of other folks there. A lot of local folks.
Where was it?
At the West, is it called Weston? The Weston?
Okay.
Cathedral City?
Is it Cathedral City? I think it's Rancho.
Rancho.
Yeah. It's great. It's the second time they do it. There's a lot of the local folks that you know, a lot of different issues. For us, I think primarily we went for the one that we had, the panel that we were on, but we stopped and also listened to the Salton Sea issues related to lithium, and they had Supervisor Kelly on that. They had somebody from, is it the Energy Commission? Yeah, so they had some folks there, some nonprofits, and so that was good. And then for us, as I mentioned last time, we were on there with Leadership Council, with Pueblo Unido, and Regional Water Quality Control Board Executive Officer. And we had a very brief time to talk about what we're doing, and it was all focused around consolidation efforts, kind of our fight to bring infrastructure into that area to get folks hooked up to our system. And so I just was brief, and I just kind of highlighted all the success that staff's been having with those types of projects, securing funding, really just try to remind folks that there's been some progress there, and it's been thanks to the agency, it's been thanks to the board, and thanks to staff. So that's kind of what I wanted to do, and I think it was received well. So thank you all for kind of being part of that story. That was it.
Great. On to the All Valley Mayors County and Tribal Chairpersons Luncheon. Looks like 3 folks were there, right?
Mm-hmm. Apparently at an open table in the back of the facility.
Yeah, so thanks, John, for bringing that up. I mean, it was, the sound system just didn't reach back. I mean, it wasn't because I'm old and have hearing problems. There were young people right next to me. I can't hear a thing. Can you hear what they're saying? And they were talking at our table, and I'm like, oh, for first time in a long time. It's not just me, right? So we could hardly hear. But I will say there was some good during that time. There was some good networking with Mission Springs Water District and Desert Hot Springs about this issue, and so I got a fuller appreciation of not their position, but just of the discussion of those. So it was worth my time for that.
Good. Good.
I'll just say that's kind of what I enjoyed of it too. I enjoyed the networking. You know, talked to folks from Desert Water Agency. We talked to folks from Mission Springs. IID was, they had the front row. They had the first table up front.
Which is okay.
And so they were there. I'm not saying that because we got the one in the back. I'm just saying they were there. But there's a lot of folks there, and it's a great time to just
Coachella.
connect and talk about issues and yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it was one of the ones that was better attended. It was packed. The parking lot was full, and so yeah, I don't think they probably thought that it was going to go that far back. but no, it was great. I'm glad that we were all there. Thank you.
Okay. Disadvantaged Community Task Force on the 17th. I was there, you were there.
We were there.
I was on the phone.
Yeah. Those are going quick. Those are going quick. I think there's a lot of projects that are kind of about to break ground, and I think the only next big thing coming up, and looking forward to seeing more of that, is the update on the plan. So there was like a brief discussion on thoughts on how we would roll in the task force as part of that, kind of moving forward, and that was kind of the main point that I got from that meeting.
Yeah, me as well. And September 18th, Salton Sea Authority.
So, there were a couple of things that came out of the meeting that I thought I'd report on, John. One is the board agreed to form a task force to include Imperial County Air Pollution District, well, basically all the air pollution districts, including South Coast, to help deal with.
Is your mic
issues
on, Director?
I'm sorry.
Aguilar? Thank you.
Very sorry. Anthony turned it off. To deal with impacts of the toxins in the air. So I think that was an important action item. Joe Shea did report that budget-wise that we did not fare very well. The $10 million that was set aside for the Salton Sea Conservancy/Authority, Conservancy got 1.6 and we got nothing. If you recall, we put in a request and letters of support for $5 million, and we got nothing. So that was not a good thing to hear. We had some discussion at the board level about why that happened and perceptions of work that the Salton Sea Authority is not perhaps getting done, and how to sort of redirect that. And then finally, and probably most of you know this, Lisa Moore reported that Ted Cook's name was withdrawn as commissioner, and at the moment, I guess there's no one to replace him.
Right, so.
There's Scott Cameron.
There is, Scott Cameron is doing the active work, and then Dave Palumbo is the assistant commissioner, who's acting commissioner, I guess. So, but Scott Cameron's running the Colorado River negotiations, and so, I mean, things, are getting done, but there's no commissioner, right? So there's no one with the hammer, I guess, if they have a hammer in that office, but not much.
And that's it, Jim.
Thanks.
Are there any other meetings we need to report?
I had two.
Go ahead.
Okay, September 16th, I met with Robert and Todd Groundwater to look. Robert really articulated what the going forward priorities were in how they should be addressing the groundwater model, and they had some certain assumptions about agriculture, so I was able to comment on that. They were relying on some neighboring groundwater basins that are under adjudication to be impacting us, and so specifically Borrego, so I was able to comment on that. I know some things about their adjudication over there. And then on September 22nd, which was yesterday, California Farm Water Coalition conducted interviews for the upcoming transition for the executive director. So we had 3 candidates to interview, and we thought it was important to be there with them because it is an important, I think, position it's a statewide organization and supported by a lot of ag and urban districts across the state. So we're looking at that, and I feel encouraged.
Great. Any others?
I had one on the 12th, right after that meeting with the All Valley mayors. I met with Patrick and Gina as part of our executive meeting for SSA, and we went over the agenda for the next meeting that was scheduled, which I was not able to attend, but also a little bit about the retreat and kind of what that's going to be made up of, and regarding the budget for the 10 million. Yeah, bummed out that we didn't get anything, but there's still room for getting something, I think, 'cause I think our concern was that the full 10 would go to the
Yeah, no, it's still
Conservancy.
there.
So at least it's still there,
It's still there.
which is a possibility for us to try to get something out of that. Not sure if you're hearing concerns with the North Lake project. That project seems to be having some issues. The project was already downsized once because of budget constraints. We only have about 20 million. And even though it was downsized, I think the cost of that is now like 60 million. So, and that had to do with a lot of the geology out there and kind of just not being a very good area for construction.
Even the small,
Even the smaller
it's
one.
gonna cost 60?
And it's all because of the geotech. It's just that it's very, the geology out there is very, the soils. So there's maybe some need to have some conversations with Joe about how to move that money, and maybe that money needs to go to the desert lakes, the West Shores that Ryan Kelly's working on with that Desert Shores community. So, and I just want to let you know that that's something that might be brewing up, but.
I would just let you know that Joe at the next authority meeting is going to be giving detailed project report on all the projects the state's working on, so that'll be a good opportunity to talk about.
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you for that. Yeah, we're also trying to get more answers out of Patrick on where projects are at. So I don't know if maybe Joe's just gonna focus on his state projects, but we should probably try to get one on the ones that we're working on, like the West Shores.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we should talk.
All right, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just mention also, on the same day, I had another meeting, so it doesn't need to go on the per diem, but September 17th, I met with George Tudor about their, we'd already approved their extension on their water service agreement. But we met for quite a while, and I should probably follow on what Peter and Robert met about with the Todd groundwater study, just to make sure that we're all of the same mind. I was consistent with what we had discussed in our meeting in open session, so no surprises, but I think we need to be clear and consistent on this.
This was regarding that agreement?
They had this water service agreement, and apparently it was based on their amount of water was based on a pump test, not on actual use of water. And then the agreement expired. So it's not so much an argument about, I think there's a lot of nuance in this outside of ID1 water use. Maybe it's not nuance. I mean, it's a pretty clearly stated that these are interruptible water supplies. So even if you are getting the delivery, it's interruptible, and then kind of the policy question for us is going to be when, I mean, do you interrupt those, or do you go to suspend replenishment or Mid-Valley, or, how does that all work? And, these are really important policy decisions that are becoming more real than theoretical as we move into a drier time. And so, I mean, a lot of my information on this is gonna come from that study. I really wanna see that. Yeah. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve per diem for the meetings reported on?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. General Manager.
Yes, sir, just one thing. Carla and I will be going to Riverside on Tuesday, October 7th to listen in to the briefing, the Court of Appeal tentative that we received back in July will be argued on the 10th for the rack rates. Sorry, I should have said that first. But we'll be gone in the morning and hopefully back shortly there in the afternoon. But it's Colentano's opportunity to argue on why we have two areas of benefit and not why the entire Indio subbasin should be treated as one. It's an old argument that we have gone through quite a few times in the past, but is clearly at the root of the tentative opinion that the Court of Appeals gave us. So hopefully we've had Todd Groundwater involved in that as well to provide some talking points for Michael's consideration, and we'll just see how it goes. That's all I've got, sir.
The fact that we didn't even have a replenishment assessment in the East Valley for decades.
Correct.
Hopefully they don't forget that. Council.
I will pass today, Mr. President.
Good. Do we have any departmental reports?
No, sir, we do not.
Seeing none. That wasn't so bad. It was almost bad enough to pull the fire alarm, but I don't think that's what happened. Maybe.
No,
I don't know.
those guys were already
I thought
gone.
when Anthony went out of the room, he pulled the fire alarm.
think
was
so.
like, what? So at this time, the board will recess into closed session to consider the items listed on the agenda. We will reconvene and report out following that. Our regular meeting is reconvened. We do not have any reportable action from closed session, and with no further business, we are adjourned.